For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.
That's all of us. Again, just like I don't believe all of you guys might not have done bad, but again, we're looking at it as a whole. We're not looking at it as, oh, maybe you might have a couple people over here that, you know, they've never been racist or they've never done this, that, and the third. Yeah, sure.
Let me step in 2 seconds. 2 seconds, right? I've been over here.
Yeah.
You said, with his explanation, it's almost as if we're grouping you in with all Europeans, right?
Kind of. That's what I was hearing. Yes.
Do you, as someone that is attempting, right, to live a life to say, you know what, I'm nothing like my ancestors, right? I don't want to represent that. I don't want to carry on any of the legacy, right, of your ancestors.
I'm not saying that. What I
so you don't mind carrying on the legacy of your ancestors?
No, I believe that some people can change, and not all ancestors were bad people.
So what I'm saying is that your ancestors, you have to understand something, right? With you being Italian, in what we now know as America in 2023, as we know it, right? As the world operates under the standard of 2023, you would not be here in this part of the world, in this land, calling it America, without bad things of your ancestors and what they've done, right? So when now that we're here and you're saying, well, looking back, we can recognize the wrong that was done, right? And now where the question comes in, would you want to continue that legacy, or would you want to deviate from that legacy?
I believe if you've listened to the conversation, I want to deviate. I see some very fundamental things wrong with our society.
Fundamental things wrong?
Yes.
When you say fundamental, what do you mean? I understand that, but just so we clear with each other, what do you mean by fundamental things that are wrong?
Well, the one thing that I said in particular was education.
Education is wrong.
And I believe the judicial system, which puts you in jail and me gets a slap on the wrist.
Right.
I think those things are wrong.
Okay.
And I would like to try to help change them to make it more equitable.
So now here's the thing. When you say fundamental, that means on the ground, on a level basis, right? The thing upon which we build on. You get the fundamentals are like your ABCs, 1, 2, 3s. From there you learn words, right? Adding, subtraction. From there you graduate to multiplication. From there you graduate to, creative writing, reading, paragraphs, essays, so on and so forth, right? So on a fundamental principle, education, you said the judicial system, right? But what about the inception? What about the idea of what this place was built on? How do we then go and correct that?
I believe that those things are slowly being corrected.
How?
Well, I believe there's no slavery anymore. I believe that there is education. Even though I think it's bad.
I was about to say, you said education is bad, so we can't even say that we can't use education because me and you agree, education is bad, so we can't throw that into the pot.
Correct.
But you said that there's no slavery anymore. Can you give me the point? What was the threshold between?
Well, that's a really, and I'm going to go back to what we said. The word slavery, it could mean that most, I'm going to say Americans are slaves now to big corporations. Right?
Yeah.
White, black, Hispanic, Indian.
Yeah.
I mean, now that's something that I don't agree with, but it's happening. But back to my point on the education thing, when you look at the people that have created the most inequity in the world, it has been the bankers and the central banks. Do you know who owns almost every central bank?
I mean, there's theories of, the Rothschild, Rockefellers, the 13 families, right?
Correct.
But here's the thing. Me and you, we agree with education. Like, that's not anything that we would have a level of disagreement or a dispute on, right? Education, we agree. It's wrong. That's something that definitely needs to be addressed. So we add that to the list. The judicial system, absolutely. Like I said, locks me up, gives you a slap on the wrist. I mean, you agree with that. But then, slavery. if we understand, because that was a foundational, fundamental discipline and principle that built this country to what it is, right? That gives people the hope and the opportunity to even consider its potential and its greatness. That was built on slavery. Okay. So when we say that it's not anymore, but then you qualify that statement and say, well, to banks and big corporations, everybody turns around and becomes a slave. I agree with that. But as far as the people who were on plantations, where was the threshold from when their slavery ended to then where now everyone is enslaved? Because again,
I think it's probably been in my lifetime, but not yours.
But where? Within your lifetime, where would you say it transitioned where the old slavery is done? Now there's this new form. Where was the turning point?
I think it comes a lot to the banking system and the money. Because when you look at what happens with all this inflation, and it's gone on for decades, not just the last 10, is what it does, it makes the rich richer, it taxes the middle class, it makes the poor poor. So
right.
Who controls the money?
Right.
And
who would you say controls the money?
Central banks.
Central banks?
But they're tied in with now, it's central banks, it's the Federal Reserve,
mm-hmm.
It's the big corporations, and it's government.
All ran by who?
I believe when you go up that pyramid like you were talking, I think a lot of the people, whether it's the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the group of 300, there's a serious number of them that are, our president, the Canadian president, these guys are all been put in by the bad guys.
Right. So what I'm saying is, who are the bad guys? What would you say that they descend from? Because when we're having a conversation, this is why I stepped in, where you say you're trying to group us all together. And the reason why at times you guys get grouped together is because of the benefits that all of you guys as a group have.
Okay.
Because without these crime families, without these big banks, big corporations, the Federal Reserve, so on and so forth, without that, you wouldn't have this opportunity to come and rollerblade, and enjoy this great Western Pacific breeze.
Correct.
So you benefit from it, nor do you try to eliminate the benefit. You want to further the benefit. You want to take whatever. Go ahead.
I think when you're pointing your finger at me, I don't think that's true.
Hold on. Are you pro-America or are you anti-America?
That's a tricky question.
It's not.
Yes, it is.
No, here's the thing.
Am I pro we the people, or am I pro the government?
No.
There's a big difference.
There is not a difference. It's all the same. It's all a part of the Republic of America. It's all a part of it.
Okay.
Just because you're going to take two factions within it that are opposed to each other, there is no America without one of them. The American system, the American country created these two distinctions, and then that's how it operates. So we're not going to attack its function or address its function. We're saying, are you pro the operation of America, the country of America, or are you anti?
Right now?
Period.
No.
No what?
I'm pro-America, but I'm not pro of what America is doing.
But
now.
you're pro of what you would like it to become.
Correct.
Meaning we have a good shell. We have a good base,
right. And
it can be something great.
Well, we say that, but then when you look at it, we the people of America, in general, are good people.
What do you mean? Well, now here's the thing. On what grounds are we establishing good and bad, right and wrong, good and evil? Now, I would assume because he's reading you Bible verses, you believe in God?
Yes.
You believe in the Bible?
Yes.
You believe in justice?
Yes.
So when you say generally we're good people, on what basis? Because our distinction and line in the sand of right and wrong is according to what God says.
That's right.
And according to what God says, America's not good people. They don't stand on good principles. They don't stand on good morals. Everyone feels like they get to do whatever it is that they want to do. And the scriptures teach us that those are destructive people, not good people.
I don't think that's completely true, because when you say everybody can do what they want to do.
No, I say everybody wants to. That's the ambition. That's the idea. That's one of the reasons why a lot of the American people cling onto America, because of the freedoms that come with it. Does not the most of 99% of Americans hinge on the freedom to do the things that they want? And how much of America is actually submitting themselves to God?
Bring it out, Cap. Not as many as there used to be.
I would say I'm talking about a small I'm talking about a small
How old are you?
I'm 32.
Okay, I'm 72.
Okay.
I have seen the decline a lot longer and going on for a lot longer period.
What was the
of time
decline? The decline from what to what?
Decline in I'm going to say a godly Christian lifestyle in the United States.
So now this is my whole point. I'm glad we're getting somewhere. What's your name? I'm Taz.
Joe.
Joe. Okay, listen, I'm gonna show you something, Joe.
Okay.
This is the reason why we like to have these conversations, because sometimes we can become vague and a lot of important key details are missed.
Correct.
You just told me at 72 years old, you've seen the decline, right, of Christian values, meaning around the time you were born, even before that, Christian values were high. And then within your 72 years, leading up to 2023, it's been on a decline. Was the world and the Christians that you're talking about that held those values, were they more racist around the time that you were born, or were they more racist now? Because these are the fundamental Christian values and principles that you speak of that I'm saying is a fundamental problem, the same way education and the same way judicial system is.
That's right.
Because these Christian values, these were people that was ripping people, hanging people, castrating people, cutting babies out of women's stomachs, raping people, but they called themselves Christians. And when you tell me that it's declined from there, it means that, yeah, they're not doing those things now. So it's almost like things are getting worse. Because if we went back to that type of Christian values, we would be in trouble.
I think that's how when we generalize anything, being Christian or not, the Christian values that I talk about, I think are much more similar to the ones that you guys talk about. And there's a lot of people that say they're Christian that are really bad people. There's a lot of people that say they believe in God that are bad people.
Right.
Okay, there's, and so it's like.
So now going back to my question, how do we draw the line in the sand of good, evil? Somebody give me Isaiah 5:20. And the reason why I'm harping on this point is because the prophet Isaiah, the Lord came to prophet Isaiah and gave him foreknowledge of people coming in the future, calling good things evil, but then calling evil things good. So when I hear you use the term good, when I hear you use the term, these are good people, these are Christian value, Christian morals, where do we draw that sand? How are we determining good, evil, right from wrong? Let me read the scripture real quick, right, while you think on that. Isaiah 5:20, go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 5, verse 20.
Woe
unto them.
Woe unto them, right? Woe is a condemnation, right? Condemn them that what?
That call evil good.
That call evil good, go ahead.
And good evil.
And good evil, read.
And that put darkness for light.
That put darkness as something that is of the light, read.
And light for darkness.
And light for darkness. So around that time, when at the time period where you're saying Christian values were high, is where they were putting darkness as something that was of the light, right? And going into
I don't think everybody was.
It's not necessarily about everybody, but can you show me a distinction of Christian values at the time? Everyone had a general idea of the Christian values.
We can probably all agree that the powers that be in government and big business are the ones that are not treating people fairly.
But they're not Christians, though. Yeah. A lot of them are practice Judaism, and even some of them are atheists, or some of them practice other dark forms of spirituality.
I don't disagree.
So we're having a conversation about the Christian values, right? The Christian values that you would say are on the declining from the time period 72 years ago, where clearly America was a lot more, I would say, overtly racist. Right? They were clearly building on all of the conquerors and the English settlers. They came over here with the Caesarea.
Okay.
Right? They came over here with that. They came over here utilizing the text that we call the Bible and imposing They're Christian values. So if we're talking about Christian values that have been established and founded and that has been weaved into the foundation and the fundamentals of America, those things are on a decline. That's rooted in pure darkness, and there is nothing light about it, right? And I'm gonna show you something. Keep reading.
Come. And that put bitter for sweet.
That make bitter things sweet. Go ahead.
And sweet for bitter.
And sweet for bitter. They were trying to convince the African slaves, the people on this sign, that they should be that they should be grateful for what the English settlers and the Spanish conquerors did, right? Taking them from the jungles and making them civilized, right? Going into the miseducation, right? That's a part of that fundamental. The way in which we've been taught, the way in which we've been brought up. Right now, or not necessarily right now, let's go back to 2001, right? Planes hit the Twin Towers. Country is in disarray, right? Catastrophe has happened, something that a lot of us had never seen, right? What did America do? America took action. America found whoever they felt like was responsible, whether they were justified or not. They found whoever they felt was responsible, and they took action. Does America teach their citizens that? Because if they did, then they'd have to teach the so-called Negro citizens. They'd have to also teach the so-called Native Indian citizens. They'd also have to teach the so-called Hispanic citizens. And why would they ever teach these people to do the same thing to them as to what they do to those foreign invaders? They would never do that. So that goes into the misinformation, right? Jump to 3 chapters to chapter 8, and then read 20.
Come on.
Go ahead.
The book of Isaiah, chapter 8, verse 20.
Read.
To the law.
To the what?
To the law.
To the law. Go ahead.
And to the testimony.
And to the testimony. The law is talking about what they would call the books of Moses. Genesis through Deuteronomy, where God gave Moses the history of the world, and he also gave them the laws, statutes, and commandments and regulations as to how the children of Israel were supposed to live to represent God. In turn, the Israelites were supposed to represent God, and the other nations outside of Israel were supposed to look at that and be influenced by those things and to follow suit, right? Now, I'm sure you're familiar with a little bit of the Bible as to how the Israelites did not follow through on their end of the bargain, so it never trickled down to the rest of the world. But the point is that it's speaking about, it says to the law, first 5 books of Moses, and the testimony, your minor prophets, your major prophets, right? The Tanakh, as they say. To the law and to the testimony, read.
If they speak not according to this word.
If they don't speak according to that, read.
It is because there's no light in them.
It's because there is no light in them. So when we're talking about the Christian views that are on the decline, they didn't speak according to the law and to the testimony. They spoke according to their own vain imagination. Because if they did speak according to the law or the testimony, they would have had to read something like this. Give me Numbers 35:33. Did you read that yet?
No, not yet.
Okay.
We're going to get that though.
Read Numbers 35:33. This is in the laws of God, right? And then also,
2 Thessalonians 1:6, and we had Exodus.
So that's New Testament. That's fine. That's fine. But we're dealing with woe unto them that put darkness for light, and then make things light that are actually dark. How do we find out who has the light? Those that are living and reading and operating according to the law and the testimony. It says if they don't, there is no light in them. So when we're looking at these Christian values that we felt like were so high, that's the concept that Isaiah was talking about. Woe, or condemn those that make something that is dark light. The early Christian values of America did not speak according to the law and to the testimony. I'm going to show you why. Numbers 35:33. Go ahead.
The book of Numbers, chapter 35, verse 33.
Go ahead.
So you shall not pollute the land wherein you are.
So, according to the law, we're not supposed to pollute the land wherein we are. Did the people that established America, did they come over here and pollute the land? Absolutely. This is where we get the whole argument and the theory of global warming and trash being all in the ocean and the beach stinking and reeking and smelling like craziness and wild stuff doesn't happen around here. They have most certainly polluted the land just on a clean and unclean basis. But let's see what the Bible says of how the land is polluted, right? Don't pollute the land wherein ye are, read.
For blood, it defileth the land.
See, the way that you pollute the land is with blood. The people that came over here with those Christian values, did they not defile this land with blood? Blacks, Hispanic, and Native Indians alone. Before we even start talking about anybody else, we could literally leave it to one of the three, and the land would be polluted with blood. How they completely damn near depleted the Native Indians completely.
Besides the fact that I'm getting overloaded with stuff here, what is your guys' solution?
So the solution is going back according to the law and to the testimony, right? So I'm gonna show you something. Finish that out, and then we're gonna get a few more, so we can bring this thing full circle.
Come. And the land cannot be cleansed of the blood that is shed therein.
So don't defile the land. Blood is what defiles it, and you cannot cleanse the land of its dirt or of its filth, except by what?
But by the blood of him that shed it.
The person that shed the blood, that defiled the land, the only way you cleanse it is by shedding his blood, right? So here's the thing. This is where I entered into the conversation where you say, well, you're grouping all of us together, and the people that shed the blood and defiled the land, they're not here anymore, but their blood is still here. This is what we call a lineage.
Okay. So are you guys saying that I should be killed?
What I'm saying is that you'd have to really read and study who the world calls Jesus Christ. Revelation 13. The words of Christ.
The Revelations.
Because when you ask us a question, you say, so do you guys think? It's not about what we think. It's that if I say I believe in Christ and his words, you say you believe in Christ and his words, what we think is that the entire planet Earth should adhere to the words of Christ. Right. Go ahead.
Book of Revelation chapter 13 and verse 10.
Read verse 9.
Verse 9. If any man have an ear, let him hear.
Go ahead.
He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity.
He that leads into captivity shall go into captivity. Go ahead.
He that killeth with the sword.
He that kills with the sword. Hold on. When you kill with the sword, that's how you shed blood. That's how you defile the land. You cannot cleanse that land except by the blood of him that shed it. And the people that shed that blood, their blood is still here. You lead into captivity. You go into captivity. You kill with the sword. Go ahead.
He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword.
Must be killed with the sword. Read.
Here is the patience.
Here is the patience, right? And the what?
And the faith.
Of who?
Of the saints.
The saints are faithfully and patiently waiting for those that led into captivity to go into captivity. For those that kill with the sword to be killed with the sword.
So, in that regard, I'm
to cleanse the land.
You know, a little bit backed into a corner, but I think, you know, when you look at the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the New World Order, the people trying to take over the groups, I believe those are the people that are causing so much.
Me and you, we don't disagree at all. We literally, Joe, we agree with that. Now here's the thing though. This is what ends up happening, right? I'm gonna give you a scenario. Us three here, we devise this plan. We're gonna go take over the world, right? So we go conquer the the continent of Africa. We go conquer the continent of Asia, and we also go conquer Australia, right? And we're doing the Australian people just wrong, right? But what I do is
the Australian people,
the people of Australia, the continent we now know as Australia, because
do you know how that was first populated?
Hold on, let's not get away from the scenario. I want you to give your point, but let's not get away from the scenario because I want you to understand something. If all three of us devise this plan to go and do something, and we go and accomplish and we conquer these three continents, if me and him turn our back on him, nix him out of the deal, and then his descendants that are now populating Australia turn around and say, well, that's not us anymore. Should him and his descendants still pay for what we all set out to do originally? Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. You want to know why? One, because he still was down with the plan. He was still involved with taking over all of these continents that we end up getting. It's just once we got it, we ended up cutting them out of the deal, right? And not to mention, his descendants wouldn't be in Australia living the life of a lap of luxury and opportunity if what us three originally set out to do, if it would have never been done, they would have never had opportunity. So that's right. Where you guys come into play. It's not so much that you're on the elite status, it's that you would not be here, so therefore by proxy or by default, you're still reaping the benefits of it. You just got the butt end of the deal, And now you want to sit up and join forces with us and say, you know what? You guys are wrong because you cut us out. That's not my problem. It is what it is. You're here, and listen, and then on top of it, it's the mentality. Well, I want to figure out a way to make this place great. The only way you can make this place great is to destroy it.
That's right. That's right.
That's the only way. This is a house that has mold, mildew, termites. Foundation is just shattered. But we keep trying to call it a damn luxury, updated, renovated mansion, and it's not.
Okay, I don't disagree with anything you guys are saying.
Right.
Except for a little bit gray areas on some things. But where I'm going to go, because I'm going to leave now, because I'm swimming in a lot of new information.
Got you.
Money, what is money? And then look at Bitcoin. Study up on Bitcoin.
I mean, listen.
Study up on Bitcoin, and then you'll see on the other end of what is money, the central banks and the Rothschilds and all those
Why do you feel like we don't understand? Why do you feel like we don't understand those things, or we have not studied on them?
I don't know. I'm asking.
Yeah,
we've most certainly studied up on all of these different things. What we're saying is that that's not the type of stuff that moves us.
Okay.
Why? Because that only pushes us further into the indoctrination. It pushes us further into the miseducation. To even believe in this type of stuff that it's going to be of some sort of benefit for us, it's not, you know? And I understand these things, it's a hard thing that, you know, it brings you to tears sometimes, I get it. But the entire concept, the entire foundation, the entire fundamental, and the entire philosophy of America is totally contrary to Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian liberation and freedom. Because without them, this place goes to nothing. Without them, this place never becomes anything.
That's what I was telling him earlier. Like he got to watch that movie A Day Without a Mexican.
See what I'm saying?
I'm gonna jam, guys.
Yeah, man. Listen, Joe.
Appreciate your help.
But remember,
Thank
he
you.
that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killed with the sword must be killed with the sword. The saints of God are waiting for that. So it would make no sense for someone who is going to get caught up into the condemnation to be a saint waiting for that, because when that comes, then their livelihood and their prosperity and their opportunity comes crumbling down.
Diminished.
So you remember that. Blood defiles the land, and you cannot cleanse the land except by the blood of the man that shed it. And that blood still runs through Joe's veins. All right? All praise to the Most High.
Good day, Joe.
For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put that work in. Hamashiach give us that order, prepare to slaughter. For all his sons and his daughters won't fill the cities with faces. Iniquities of they father, bloodthirstiest of our nation. Not for living water, waiting to put this work in. Hamashiach give us that order.